Are we okay? We're going to fucking... We've got to do the fucking shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Sean here. COVID makes you lazy, makes you tired. Gotta take care of myself and my son. That's why there's been a lack of videos, not because of disinterest, but because of those things. I would love to sit Lorne down and ask him how he perceives himself. I want to ask him about self-perception. It could be a powerful tool, but in his case, it's a time bomb. Because when you can't be honest with yourself, when you haven't had those reflective moments in your life, when you get older you have more of them. There was a moment, I guess 2 years ago, I realized I was close to retirement, and I'm not that old. I've just been where I'm at for a long time. So I asked myself, where am I at? What do I want to do? Where do I go? What are my skills? What am I capable of? And so on and so forth. Do I want to get married? All of that stuff. I have to ask myself what type of person I am. What's going to make me happy for the rest of my life? If you can't have those conversations with yourself, you're going to live in the past, and you're going to repeat all of your mistakes, and you're never going to be happy. Lorne isn't happy. He keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And I think if you sat him down and you had a list and you said, hey man, let's go over this checklist, I want you to give me some answers here. I don't think you get the real answers. Because his self-perception is that of someone who is successful. He's not successful. But in his mind, he was successful in the past, which makes him a successful person in his mind. You're only as good as your last victory. And he doesn't understand that. He probably did something he was proud of a long time ago, and he remembers that. I'll give you a prime example. He talks about doing karaoke, and he was singing, and people stopped outside the bar. This is a one-time thing that happened. He tells the same story over and over again. This is the highlight. Think about this. This is the highlight of his midlife. He was singing karaoke. People walked by, looked in the window, and to him, that meant he was a rock star. He was a country music celebrity. There are people like that. You know, the guy who's still living in the state championship football season that he had. I can tell you that I had a former in-law, and oh my God, man. All we heard about was state championship coach put me in. You know, we had 22 games. I had a hurt thumb that last game, and you just hear about it over and over again because they live in the past and they see themselves on the accomplishments of the past. They see themselves, as the accomplishments of the past. I think Lorne is the same way. I don't think he's had a lot of accomplishments in his life. I think he's had a few. I'm not going to take anything away. I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, but Lorne, he's the broken clock. It's right twice a day. If you were to go back in his life and you were to make him write down what it is that makes him think he was successful, I would imagine it would be, I got a job, I got another job, I ran a septic business, and that's about it. I got a C one time on an English exam. I can't imagine he'd have much to tell you about. I could run down a list of things that I've done, and I know all of you could as well. Things that meant something to you. That's real self-perception. You see yourself, the things that you did that have value, especially to you, not just to others. Lorne, all he has are things that are of value to him. Well, what are they? Could he name them? Does he have anything to base his success on? I don't think he does. If I got him to verbalize, that would be self-concept. That's how he would describe all of those things. It would be how he described who he was. This would be difficult. This is why he goes straight to anger when you criticize him. He knows. We all know. I know my weaknesses. I know my failures in the past. I have regrets. Lorne does too, but he wants to deny them. He wants to ignore them. He doesn't want to address them. When was the last time we heard him on a call actually talk about his faults, except for Debbie, when he thought that was what was going to get him laid? I want you to try something. You don't have to. I'm not your teacher. I'm not smarter than you. I'm just saying it was an exercise that we did when I was going through school, and I found it helpful. First, I wrote down everything that I perceive myself as. I wrote down my successes and my failures, what made me a success, what made me a failure, and what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses. And then I recorded myself talking about it. There is a definite change. When you write something down, you have time to think about it. You have time to analyze it. When you're talking, it just bloop comes out, just like that. Which is why I find streams so interesting, because you're listening to somebody in real time. They're not reading off a script, or, at least I don't think they are. DSP, if you don't know who that is, Dark Side Phil. When you listen to him talk, he's one of those guys you just want to say, dude, just stop. Put a sock in it. Stop talking. You're doing more damage than good. And I think Lorne would be the same. They're the same type of people. Delusional. His self-perception, it would be of this amazing man who's a gift to society. When he started speaking about what he had to lose, I give water to the homeless, I help out my family, these are all things. One thing he did once, the water to the homeless, helping out his family, that's something that normal people do on a regular basis, and they don't talk about it. You want to do a favor for somebody, don't expect anything in return. You want to give somebody a gift, don't expect anything in return, Lorne. You don't donate your time and then expect something back. That's why they call it donating. He's infuriating. But back to what I was saying. If he starts talking about himself, that's why he stutters and stammers. Because I give water to the homeless, I help out, I got so much to lose. You don't have anything to lose. Lorne, you are a loser. You've lost everything. Because at some point in your life, you should have sat down and did an assessment of who you are, where you're going, and where you've been. You don't even have to nail the where you're going. Just have an idea. Plot a little map on how you're going to get there and go forward. A lot of future plans are based on money. But I don't want you to discuss money if you do the exercise I talked about. Because being rich is not a measure of success by any means, in my opinion. I don't care how anybody looks. I don't base it on looks. Even though I've never seen any of you in person, I've only talked to you on the phone. But what I'm saying to you is, the type of person you want to be, the type of person you want others to see you as, and that is important. I don't mean go out and win a popularity contest, and I don't mean become an Instagram celebrity. What I'm talking about, what I hope you discuss with yourself is, how do I want to be remembered? Do you think Lorne has ever had that conversation? How do I want to be remembered? I don't. And I don't think he ever will, because right now he's going to be remembered as an alcoholic rage monster who couldn't hold down a job, who was an asshole to everyone he met, who stole money from Betty, who stole money from probably countless others, who tried to diddle children multiple times, and will never take responsibility for any of it. Self-concept is so important for a number of reasons. It deals with your psychological, your physical traits. These are things you wouldn't be able to describe. You would have to do some soul searching, some deep therapy, dig down deep, and try to pull these things out of your brain, your qualities, your skills, your roles and social circles, your family, friends, job, whatever it may be. That's what self-concept is. Self-perception is very similar. Physical, mental attributes. It's a little different than self-image. Positive and negative self-image, the two major players when you're discussing that. Self-image, especially a positive self-image, can affect the jobs you get, the friends you have, how good your relationships turn out to be, and a negative, which it is so bizarre because Lorne talks a good game. He talks about how awesome he is, how good looking he is, and he spouts all of his verbal effluvia, as Jim Cornette would say. But the way his relationships turn out scream fucking savior, scream negative self-image. We're watching this dude in real time crash and burn. He has to know he's a piece of shit. He has to know. He has to be able to look at himself. But he tells himself all that garbage because it's the only way he knows how to deal with it. And he gets angry when anyone else points out that he really is a piece of shit. So his negative self-image, it's there. His perception, his self-concept, they differ. His self-perception differs so much from his self-image. All of them kind of intertwine, and getting into the details of it would take forever. But what we're talking about is Lorne and his concept of self. The very basic concept of schema is something as simple as this. You walk into a house and you expect to see a couch, a TV, maybe a kitchen table, an oven, refrigerator, and so on and so on. Things you would expect when you walk into a house. You wouldn't expect Ming Dynasty vases around the house because that's not part of the schema. This also applies, and this can get complicated, so I'm just going to hit the surface. This also applies to what you expect from one person to the next. What you expect the qualities in this person to be and how they interact with this other person. To Lorne, none of that would be normal. None of those situations would seem normal to us. But to him, this little schema in his brain applied to people, just like I said, walking into a house, you expect to see things. Lorne's idea of relationships, interpersonal ones, the way he speaks to people, none of it is normal. So he walks into those situations already at a disadvantage, because in his head, that's how it should be, that's what he expects. Part of his schema, its preconceived notions and assumptions. He could walk into every relationship and assume a woman is going to cheat on him. That's part of the whole concept of schema. So we're seeing that when he walks into a relationship. He expects the woman to cheat on him immediately. I don't understand why. He's never had a relationship. We know the Paula thing. They were, quote, headed to a relationship. We talked about this before. But to Lorne, for some reason, that was a real relationship. And she got back with her ex-fiance or somebody. And to him, that was the biggest turning point in his life in terms of trust for women. So maybe everybody I trust is eventually going to hurt me. Had I not found out with the will call, what I've been told by Dan Jones and several other people now, that he had a stepfather until he was 30, I might have said, oh, I see how that trust could come about. I see why that would be in his schema for regular, normal relationships. I could see how you trust people and they hurt you. Abuse victims, right? They would have the same thing. Sexual abuse victims. Kayla, for the rest of her life, would have expected all of her relationships to be somebody come in, do their business, and immediately abandon them. Or kidnap them. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. That can get real dark. I'm just talking about Lorne's schema for the way he sees how people should act, for the qualities he expects, for the words that he expects to be exchanged and how they're exchanged. All of it is abstract. It's not normal in the slightest. So Lorne has a lot of problems, a lot of issues. And if he doesn't sit down and do a self-evaluation and talk about all of those things we just discussed, he will never change. He'll never be happy. He'll never advance in life. He'll be stuck in his sophomore year. And I hate to say it, but I wish he would change. I wish he would figure out what it is that's holding him down. We know what it is. It's a laundry list. But he doesn't have a clue, because it's easier to blame others. It's easier to just sit at home and say, well, I could possibly get this job. They talked about hiring me back. It's been a year, but I'm just going to wait for that job to open up again. Lorne, if you would just evaluate yourself, man. If you would just take a look at who you really are, what skills you possess, qualities, what you expect relationships to be. If you would just take a look at all of it and speak with somebody that had some common sense, you would be in a better spot, my friend. And stop worrying about money. You don't have any, you'll never have any, but you're always trying to do these get rich quick schemes, or you're talking about money to somebody else. That's not what we're talking about. I've got off on a tangent because he makes me so angry. But if someone would sit him down, make him write it out, then double check it, check his work, grade it if they have to, give him an F if he starts talking about himself as if he's Superman. If he doesn't write down that he's an utter failure, a complete failure, there's a problem. And if they have to be rude and forceful, they need to. I don't know what the future holds for him. I really don't. I don't think any of us do. I think we all assume he'll be in his trailer. He'll be in the same spot he always was. I'm gonna keep it real, and I may do a video on this. I think, honestly, he would call Emma up, knowing Emma was playing Winnie, and ask Emma if he could talk to Winnie. That's how pathetic I think he is. I think he could convince himself that Winnie was the actual person who was playing the character of Emma if it suited his needs. That's how sad and pathetic I think he is. Emma, could I please speak to Winnie? Could you please bring out Winnie? Because I think he thinks that's how split personalities work, but that's another video. I just think if someone doesn't put him in check and make him check himself, he will forever be that lonely loser in the trailer waiting to get catfished again. It's a long one. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.